Hello, my name is Nick Crofts. I'm President of the National Members Council here at the Co-op. Thank you for joining in and having put your questions, which will be answered by two of our member-nominated directors, two of the members of our board here at the Co-op, passionate cooperators, equally passionate about fair trade. Fair trade has always been a huge priority for the Co-op and a huge priority for the National Members Council, and this is a big part of our celebration of Fairtrade Fortnight and also of the 25th anniversary year of fair trade.
I'm Paul Chandler and I'm a member nominated director on the board of the Co-op. I think it's a really excellent question. It's one that I know many supporters of fair trade get quite frustrated by. When you buy a pack of coffee for £4 or £5, you don't actually know how many pence are going back to the producer. And that raises questions about, is there some exploitation still going on in here? Who's really making the money out of it? The problem is it's actually a very complex matter to say on any particular product exactly what the proportions of each stage of the supply chain have been in terms of the costs that are incurred. It's relatively easy if you were taking a product like a banana, but if it's anything which has been manufactured or processed or as an ingredient within a wider range of products, it's really very, very difficult to trace every element back with integrity and accuracy. And what's really good about the fair trade system is that you do have a guarantee, an audited guarantee, that the producers of the products that you're eating will have received a fair price for their product. And that means a minimum price that's going to cover their costs of production and give them a reasonable standard of living. And then on top of that, a premium which they can use for other social benefits. So you know when you're buying fair trade, the producer is not being exploited, and that's being guaranteed to you.
My name's Hazel Blears and I'm a member nominated director on the Co-op board. Martin, it's a great question and it goes right to the heart of what being a co-op is all about. There are a whole range of organisations that we can work with. There's the World Fair Trade Organisation, there's Euro co-ops, and in some ways in other countries this is perhaps more developed than it has been here in the United Kingdom, but I'd say we're catching up fast, and I want us to be able to be the best in class. And when I think about our fair trade roses out in Kenya, I was really struck by one of the stories that the growers were telling us. And she said, flowers are supposed to be about showing that you love somebody. And I thought that is really, really kind of summed up for me where we should be, because sometimes we talk about fair trade and it's all about the economy and it's all about money. And money is really important because without that you can't live your life. But actually underlying that, it's all about values and showing that you care and cooperating to care about the world that we share. I think it's really powerful.
It's another really great question, because to the Co-op, our values and principles mean that treating our suppliers and all the people that we deal with in our supply chains well is a part of who we are and what we want to be. The level of commitment within the Co-op is something I found very, very impressive there. And I know we've been working really hard over the last year to develop better systems that allow us to track exactly how our buyers are relating to their suppliers, so that we can pick up early on if there are any situations that might arise that we might not feel so comfortable about. And I think that actually we've become one of the leading edge retailers in the way that we're systematising that approach. We do an awful lot as well, working alongside farmers in the UK, British farming, and working to develop farming groups and apprentice farmers, and to really try and make sure that people in our supply chains are benefiting as much as possible from our work.
I think making the link between our co-op stores, which are now in every community right across the United Kingdom, and the people in the local community is a fabulous example of what we talk about, which is, working together, cooperating for a fairer world, all of that. But you make it real by people in our stores going out and making that connection on the ground. And as I understand it, in Fairtrade Fortnight, there are about 1,800 of our stores that have really got a great programme of work. They're going to go out into the community, connect the store, talk about fair trade, and do all those practical things. And you know, in the co-op, we are very practical people. We've got great values and ideals, but we like to see it in action. And by cooperating with things like fair trade towns, community groups that are already involved in fair trade, we all kind of get new ideas and we get new energy. So everybody in our stores who's making all those connections with our community groups will be reinvigorated, and they'll come back and, you know, they'll be wanting to go out and do even more.
Yeah, well, the environment has always been one of the criteria for fair trade producers they have to comply with, and there's a lot of advice and guidance about the fertilisers they're allowed to use, and encouragement for them to think about whether they can use resources more effectively. But in common with many people, I have to say I've found the environment and climate change issues becoming more and more important to me, and to think about the future of my family. And I think there is a definite trend in fair trade to say we've got to put even more emphasis on the environmental dimensions of what we're about. And sometimes that's just about telling those stories which are already there in a clearer, a more effective way. And a member of staff of the Co-op was telling me recently that 50% of the fair trade farms that are currently producing coffee won't be able to produce coffee in 30 years' time, because the impact of climate change will mean that the conditions on those bits of land will no longer be appropriate for growing good quality coffee. So it's a really major issue.
Well, Philip, at the moment, we are reviewing the range because we had a motion at our annual general meeting asking us to look at this, and I know that work's going on. But what we've tried to do is to really concentrate on a few core products where we can really make a difference. I've discovered in my life that if you spread yourself too thinly, you don't always make a big impact. So if you think about our 7 core areas: sugar, tea, coffee, bananas, cocoa, roses. I'm not sure if that's 7, Philip, but I think it's 6. And the best one of all, in my view, the wine that we have, the Fairtrade wine. I think in the Co-op we were the first people to do a Fairtrade wine, and I was lucky enough last year to go and visit our winery out in Buenos Aires, and what's happening out there is just amazing. With the Fairtrade Premium, they've been able to build a secondary school so that 650 children no longer leave school at the age of 12 but can stay on till 18, and some of them are going to university. They're building a health centre because they have no health or children's facilities or maternity facilities in the local area. And the Co-op, as one of the first things that they encouraged with the Fairtrade Premium, was to get good clean water to the people in the villages, and that has now happened, and it's transformed that community. There's a lot more we can do, but when you see for yourself, hands-on, the difference that the Fairtrade Premium really makes, it is quite literally life-changing. So in the next 25 years, I think that fair trade will become more and more relevant. I think it will grow. I think it'll become bigger. And I always say, you know, that doing good is good business. And actually fair trade is doing good. So why wouldn't it attract more and more people to our Co-op who want to come and trade with us? And then we're in a really sweet place then, because we've actually brought together the values of a business with really good values about changing the world and changing people's lives.
People will say, fair trade's done very well, look at all that growth, everyone recognised the fair trade mark, the job's done, let's move on to other things. But actually we know that fair trade is only a tiny proportion of what it could be. Even in the big categories like coffee and tea and cocoa, there's a lot of products out there, not in the Co-op but elsewhere, which don't carry the fair trade mark, don't have fair trade ingredients. And so I think we've got an important role as a consumer cooperative to help our members really understand why fair trade makes a big difference, and to encourage them to make that fair trade choice time and time again.
Thank you once again for joining in to hear more about fair trade. There's lots of ways that you can join in, always, at the Co-op, so head to join in now to see which other ways that you're able to get involved. Thank you very much.